I use the word blessing. That's the way I feel about working at Haskell. If you haven't figured that out yet, or you haven't found that spot in Haskell, look for it, because I spent 10 years in professional sports. I spent 10 years in construction and commercial real estate, industrial real estate, and Haskell is a remarkable place to work. You can do whatever you dream and aspire to do. So if you ever feel like you have a limitation and you can't figure that out with your direct supervisor, feel free to come see me, okay? Because this is a wonderful company with pretty much unlimited potential. Do I have a clicker, or what is the program? All right, so as AJ said, I'm Dave Auchter. I'm Vice President of Corporate Marketing. I entered that position through CPG, where I was Director of Marketing and Business Development. So I had an opportunity to install essentially a proof of concept on several different fronts, and then move into the corporate marketing seat, where I work across the enterprise, across the offices, across the delivery groups and BUs in support of a broad array of goals. You're going to get a 5-minute 101 and then 20 minutes about kind of the stuff, the secret sauce. So bear with me for a second. I think you just met Preston Haskell. I think it's really extraordinary that all of us are in this business at a time where we can have a personal relationship with the founder. Preston is a legend in this industry, across AEC, but certainly within the design build community. And he's an accessible, wonderful guy that you'll see around the building, and don't hesitate to say hello and ask him questions. You probably got all the 101 stuff, but this is an important message because that's who we are. Talking about the depth and breadth of the Haskell company is essential to what we do at corporate marketing. So the depth of services, the depth of markets, delivery methods, and specialties is a very complicated story, but that's what we try to do day in and day out, specific to the audience that we're talking to. Of course, geographic presence, 20 offices around the United States, APAC and Mexico, and you know, even I can get tripped up on what cities I should be adding to the footer in any given correspondence. We've added the Philippines recently, we've added Salt Lake City recently, so we are a company that is truly global and, in fact, growing. You've probably seen the map of the U.S. Locations, of course headquartered in Jacksonville, but that's just because that's where we were founded. That's where we are, that's where we were founded. You know, we treat all the offices as Haskell offices. They're not satellite offices, they are just Haskell offices. A rich legacy of recognition. You can see the AEC accolades are deep. We are constantly submitting for these awards, and we've bumped between 1 and 2 for food manufacturing off and on over the years, but we work hard at making sure that the industry recognizes our scale and our success at many different levels. Delivery solutions, you probably know all those terms. EPC probably being the most new to the Haskell enterprise because of our integrated delivery that includes procurement, so I'm not going to get into the weeds on that. And then capabilities for a total project. I was scanning this deck before I came down here, and I realized this is even dated because we have a very strong Haskell design studio. So before you get to site development, you could be doing master planning and things of that nature. So I need to update this deck. Self-perform capabilities. We have these predominantly in the business. About 90 permanent craft employees who can help with the tilt wall and the concrete construction, steel and otherwise. And does everybody know our delivery groups? 3 delivery groups, pretty straightforward. We've got CPG, I and T, not INT, I and T, and FHE. And then we have design services, or AE fee for service. We now call that design services. So 3 primary delivery groups, and then the design services business. So CPG is split essentially into 3 divisions. We have food and beverage, beer, wine, and spirits, and consumer products. Consumer products can be anything from tires to lipstick, so a huge category. But each one of these is mature in its own right, and food and beverage is by far the largest division in the business. The client list that we maintain is a who's who. We win projects to earn accounts. If I had to go win 668 projects that we did in 2018, it would take 10 of me and probably 50 of you. It's just too hard to go win every single project. So accounts are so essential to what we do. Earning those accounts, performing on those accounts, and then getting repeat opportunities with those accounts is absolutely essential. This is the INT breakdown. Very different from CPG. CPG, food and beverage, beer, wine, spirits, consumer products, there's a theme there. But of course, INT, you've got water and you've got aviation. Very different divisions, but the group president, Pete Kinsley, and his team do a great job of isolating on certain markets and doing very well across all the markets in INT. Again, INT key clients is a who's who of municipalities and private clients. And then the FHE market portfolio is federal, which has massive implications for a business. It's a market that they're the biggest consumer of AEC services in the United States, and we have a focus on growing the federal design build portfolio and design services portfolio. And of course, healthcare and then energy. Again, FHE key clients, a who's who, all the agencies of defense and federal entities, private clients. It runs the gambit. Okay, so that's just the 101. Did you learn anything there? Did you learn anything there that you didn't get in your employment package or HR package? Because it takes a while to understand the scale of the business, but really when you get down to it, it's pretty straightforward. We serve certain markets, we provide certain services, we operate in certain geographic regions, which we don't have an office in Europe. There's a lot of competition in Europe, so that's not the first place that we're going for expansion. We went to Mexico City, we're now in Asia. But again, it's important to know the business that you now work for and you represent. So now we're going to talk specifically about marketing and business development. Another thing I observed when I was looking at this a little while ago is the organization is too big just to clump marketing and business development together. But we did it over the last couple of years because there were a lot of basic infrastructure projects that had to be addressed, staffing most importantly. So in this room, I know we have Alan and Jason and Patrick, and we've gone from essentially about 10 business development professionals to about 38 by my count. So that's not exactly an about number. Let's say about 40. But this year you're going to see, and you may not really perceive it, but we're going to really split the marketing and business development organization because each one of them has scale now, and they'll be integrated but developed somewhat independently. All right, so in 2016, the senior leadership of the company said, we've done okay over time, we've grown, but we haven't accelerated that growth. We haven't really hit the button that says, we have a unique business with amazing professionals and we're capable of being, $1 billion business. We sold $1 billion worth of work this year. So we are $1 billion business. We had $963 million in revenue, and our sales goal for 2019 is $1.25 billion. So we've already seen return on the investment that started in 2016, and really it was about putting the right people in the right position with the right playbook, and then working the process, working the plan. So here's the fundamental marketing organization that essentially serves each different delivery group. There's a couple names here that need to be updated and some need to be added, but I'll get to a different org chart shortly. This is corporate marketing. This is my team upstairs. I hope you'll reach out and say hello to Krista Lee and Elizabeth, who work here in Jacksonville. Tom and Megan work in the Oklahoma City office, but very talented, capable group of people here that I get to work with. So corporate marketing, this is really kind of the 2018 mandate was, let's just get back to the fundamentals. Let's do the 101. I call it the year of firsts. We touched reporting standardization, strategic planning standardization. We started internalizing websites. We started building out our social media. And probably the most important initiative was taking the business development and marketing process, codifying that process, and then scaling it across the business. But before you can go to other groups, CPG going to other groups, you've got to have credibility and trust. So that was a big part of what we've done in the last 12 months. So we built that trust with advancements in internal comms, ranging from the shareholders report, community impact report, which you'll get in the next few months. You'll get a new one. We're already working on that. Won't be printed this year. We're going to go all digital, which is really the standard with top tier companies. You'll receive the scope, which is HR related, and then this is actually a draft for your Haskell portal. My Haskell will be updated ideally by the end of this quarter. We've been internalizing websites. Catalyst, our healthcare consulting practice in Charlotte, didn't have a website, so we built the website. We rebuilt Freeman White. Cyberling and Benham's being rebuilt right now. When I took over corporate marketing, Haskell.com had essentially just been launched. It's over 650 pages. We're going to modernize that and get our message on point, and we'll have a new website by the end of the summer. So then external comms with social media, you can see people focused, Haskell focused, business focused. I'm going to do a shameless plug. Connect, because we want to know your background. We want to know who you know. And that probably is going to work the other way as well. So when you build out your LinkedIn profile, we're LinkedIn super users. And if we were in the neurosurgeon business, they're not on LinkedIn. But engineers and project managers and project directors and admins in our industry, they're on LinkedIn. So if you don't have a fully built out LinkedIn profile, I encourage you to do that and connect to Haskell. Send me an invite, and let's help you proliferate within that community. All right, we've spun out quite a few print ads and advertorial. A big push this year was the succession plan. That's a big deal in any company, big company, small company. A change of leadership is incredibly disruptive. And I'd say half the time it doesn't go particularly well. Our former CEO, Steve Halverson, who is our current board chairman, they looked at candidates within the company, outside of the company, and Jim O'Leary was identified as the right guy for the job. We're all fortunate to work for Jim O'Leary. He's a world-class business leader and a world-class human being. I mean, more importantly, he's just a fantastic guy. So we've been pushing him to the forefront and then trying to highlight some of Haskell's marquee jobs for one reason or another. We're competing for opportunities in Jacksonville with master planning, so we're going to push some of our planning projects to the forefront. This is a big job that we did, a line that went under the river for the JEA. JEA has a big program in 2019, so pushing specific ads out to subtly encourage JEA leadership that we're the right people for the job. So planning and reporting, I mentioned that we standardized that. So as you attend meetings, potentially group meetings, you're going to see a standard format that is typical to all the groups and all the divisions. Same thing with our annual strategic planning documents. Those are now standardized. So I just found out that INT last year supported 61 conferences. So that's just one group that did 61 conferences. It takes a lot of time and a lot of investment. And if you're going to do a conference, play to win, meaning do it right. Don't just throw up a 10 by 10, sit on a bar stool and stare at your phone. When we go to conferences, we play to win. So we try to get opportunities to present, to be an expert presenter. We typically will do a booth if it makes sense, and then we'll socialize. In this case, this is PAC Expo in Las Vegas. This is PAC Expo this most recent year in Chicago. It alternates Vegas and Chicago, and we're good at this. So I'm going to let somebody else tomorrow show you what we call the sizzle video, but we have great video resources. We have internal capabilities almost as a last resort. We just wanted to be able to do it if we had a short-term need. But Stan, who's here, he's excellent at developing videos, both the recording and the post-production, but we do have some limited capability internally for photo and video as needed. These are just the basic software that we use to support marketing. You probably recognize most of them, but it takes a lot to power the projects that we do on a day-to-day basis. And then this is what I was talking about, that shift or the split with marketing and business development. So now that we have marketing scale and we've earned trust across groups, we have a marketing council. And so when I got here, I was told in no uncertain terms, we're not going to have a centralized marketing department because the groups need to have the autonomy to flex their marketing capabilities and resources to drive their business. But that doesn't mean we can't be integrated. There are best practices happening in different corners of the business, and we have to be sharing those best practices. In fact, I found that we were drawing a process chart. Remember that site development all the way to packaging or product delivery, and another group was doing the same thing. So now we try to figure out how not to be duplicating efforts and then to share best practices. So the Marketing Council meets on a quarterly basis, and it really is a collection of the senior marketers across the business. And this is why we're splitting up marketing and business development. So when our CEO came out last year with his vision of Haskell 2025, and that is to grow the business to a $2 billion business by 2025, all the division leaders, group leaders heard that and said, my God, if we're going to grow like that, we need people to get us there. And so in disparate ways, we started hiring business development people. Again, I recognized a few that are in this room. But what I observed is if I took all the people that INT was hiring and all the people CPG and FHE and design services, we ended up with a very, very robust business development organization. So the next phase for marketing and business development is let business development scale. We're going to create a business development council. Some of the leaders of that council are in this room. They're uniquely interested and capable to lead that group. And this is going to be a team that really helps us get to Haskell 2025 and become a $2 billion business. You heard me talk about process. And so my first career was in the National Football League. I worked for a man who won 3 Super Bowls. And his whole theory was, right people in the right position with the right playbook. And if you don't have one of those working, it doesn't work, right? If you have a possession receiver in a position of a blocking, tight end, that just doesn't work. And so process is so critical to what we do. If you call, any large contractor and say, can I talk to your business development guy that was there 5 years ago? They're not there because the model is, I heard the term recently, whack-a-mole. know what whack-a-mole is? You just sit there and pound on the mole that pops up in the machine, right? Or the cash booth, where you step in the cash booth and you swing and you might get $1 bills or $100 bills. That's not a system. There's a pretty well-defined marketplace where we should be operating. To give you an example, beer, wine, and spirits. There's lots of smaller craft spirits that are penny pinching, they're bootstrapping, and that's probably not a great client for us unless they're well capitalized and they want to grow, right? And so when we map the universe in all the different markets that we're in, which is easy, you go to Google and say top 20 producers, top producers in food and beverage, top producers in salty snacks or protein or whatever the category is, that data is out there. And so we have gone about the process of on a very disciplined basis, mapping the market, putting it on we call it the CPM, the Client Prospect Matrix, and then creating, tools that tell us, our division leader told us here that these are ascending markets, these are growing markets. So why would we go over here to poultry, which is very commoditized, and frankly, it's nasty. What do you do with, 100 chicken heads a minute? When we know we can be very successful in dairy because we're experts in sanitary design. We've got yogurt plants that we've done and liquid milk, fluid milk that we've done. So this is kind of the roadmap to the business development practice. And I would imagine that our new business developers in the room are already thinking, who am I going after tomorrow? Or who am I going after next week? And do that in a very process-driven way. So what happens is you start with your CPM, right? And the whole goal is to go through the business development life cycle. So when I reach out to someone, I'm just trying to get a meeting. That's an at-bat. And if I were to take a meeting, I have a degree in English literature. I'm not a credible peer for a mechanical engineer or process engineer, but if I can figure out how to get an at-bat, how to get a meeting, there's so many talented people in this enterprise, and I now know who those people are. And if I don't, I'll just ask. I can get a highly qualified, sanitary design process engineer to go meet with, Haribo, who's building a $100 million confection, plant. And so that's the role of business development, is to create at-bats. We have a retired Corps of Engineer colonel, right, in the aviation business. Can you fly a plane? But that doesn't make you any less effective at BD, not legally, right? But Jason is a highly credible operative that can grab Greg Akers, the division leader for aviation, and take a meeting, get a meeting. So we basically, starting with a map of the universe, we're able to send, by permission, always, intro presentations. We then turn those into meetings, and then we turn those into proposals. And this is 2017 just because it's a complete data set, and I was too lazy to update it for 18. But the point is, that's the cycle. So to go from 600 to 400 to 262 to 177 is a pretty good batting average. And I mentioned LinkedIn before. This is why we have such a strong batting average, is because the community that we are seeking, they're all there, every single one of them. And Haskell, with 1,300 people, and not just 1,300 people, but the people that have come before us, we can almost always find a warm reference when reaching out to any company, any operative, any director of purchasing, director of engineering, director of procurement, whoever the case may be. So if you don't know how to use LinkedIn, Dave Auchter, A-U-C-H, just start typing on the phone, and I'm happy to help you to set that up. So here's the H1. They haven't rolled up the second half of the year yet, but you can see this is where we started the year that I jumped in, and these were the volumes. So we did 72 proposals in 2016, and just applying a process, starting with the CPM and working our way through. you can see how we turned the volumes up dramatically. And this is a mid-year number, so the CPG team that took over this year, they actually did better than the year prior, and we're going to keep pushing that. So this is an interesting reference because you can see a lot of red here. Well, when we call on a new customer, there's typically a Haskell that's already working with them, right? An incumbent. And we have to unseat the incumbent. But that's hard. The other thing is we're either too late to the procurement or we're too early. I mean, it's just a shot in the dark, but we know they're all spending CapEx. So even when I see a loss, even when I see a red, to me it's a win because now they know who we are, right? They got an introductory deck. We probably took a meeting. Maybe we responded to an RFP and they got a proposal from us. So we're now in their frame of reference and we have a chance. The only jobs you'll absolutely never get are the ones you don't ask for. That's just the way that works. So the volume of this year after year is a necessary step to earn credibility with the customer. This is 16 CPG clients. In 2017, this is who we added. We increased the total number of clients. These are clients that gave us money. They're on the contract schedule for services by 42%. Often, these are starting with services, not $50 million projects, but that's fine because we can perform on a $50,000 system analytics contract. So that's it. A lot to jam into a very short amount of time, but we have a robust marketing team. We have a growing BD organization. 2019 is going to be a huge year, exciting year. We have so many talented people that we just have to be successful. We're just going to be successful.